Hello, everyone. I thought I had this idea totally originally. I was like, this would be a great idea for a video. And then I was like, wait, I think I promised to do this on a stream. And then I looked and I did, and I never did. But we're doing it now. Also, my original intro for this, before I remembered that, was going to be, this is the video with just buzzwords for my channel. Danganronpa Homestuck tier list. Can't get much better than that. Throw Jackbox in there and you got everything. Unfortunately, we don't have any of that. But hey, today's tier list is going to be ranking the Danganronpa characters on how capable they would be as team members in a SBURB session from Homestuck. Basically, it's like an RPG team with some more steps. So how good they'd be in like a MMO team or like guild or something. If you don't know what Homestuck is, to think about it that way is probably fine. So yeah, I'm going to be ranking the main cast. Probably not the anime characters, because they'd all be bad. We know that. And then probably the Danganronpa and other characters. At the very bottom of this list, they do have Eden's Garden, which technically I could rank, but I feel like I don't know enough about those characters to rank them, and I have no idea who these people are. I do know who Yuri is. I didn't mean to click that. So this should be a long one. Let's strap in. So, Aoi. I feel like Aoi's in good teammate tier. Also, I changed the top tier, which in the original stream was hard carry, to god tier, because it only makes sense. That's a Homestuck reference. I don't know why I'm trying to help people who don't know Homestuck understand this. It's impossible. Anyway, I feel like she'd be on task, and she wouldn't go off and do anything stupid. But you would have to hope she doesn't have one of the very important powers, because I feel like she is not the most capable in terms of some things that you need her to be able to do. Like fighting, sure. Protecting people, whatever, sure. But like, I don't think she could manage time loops like Dave, or come up with, or even just handle being able to see everything in space like Jade. So yeah, that's as far as I can go for her. I don't think she'd be bad, but I don't think she'd be that good either. Oh, Byakuya. Well, I don't think she'd be that good. I don't think she'd be this good, but she's still good. Byakuya's a tough one, because, like, there's definitely an argument for this, but he is very capable, and he does value his own life. He's kind of the Vriska of Danganronpa, isn't he? And Vriska was kind of a hard carry, so I think that makes sense. He would do some bad stuff for sure, and he definitely wouldn't be beloved by his team, but I think he would be probably pretty important in getting them to the end of the game. Celeste is the opposite, where I think she would actively sabotage the group for her own gain, and not like value her own life enough to actually be a useful asset. Yeah, she would be like, finish the game? Why would I ever want to do that? I can just stay here with my palace that I've stolen from the White Queen or something and live the rest of my days in happiness. And then actively try to stop the group from finishing the game and moving on. Yeah. That was an abrupt change on the playlist. Hopefully that didn't jostle anybody audio-wise. I'm just listening to a playlist of chill Danganronpa music, so apologies for that if it does. Chihiro's definitely a hard carry. This is a game, and programming knowledge would come in very handy, as we saw with like Solix and stuff. Knowing vaguely what things are stops you from, doing stupid stuff, supposedly. Having a good head on your shoulders and not just murdering everything you see also helps, and Chihiro also has that, so there we go. Hifumi has to be carried. I don't think he'd actively sabotage, except in the name of Celeste. So it kind of depends if Celeste is there or not. Or some other girl, I guess, like Celeste. That's fairly possible. But he definitely wouldn't help in any case. So I feel like that's fair. Obviously, Junko actively sabotages. I don't even think I have to explain that. I don't think Taka is god tier because he's a little bit too unstable. I mean, Byakuya's not unstable. He's just not a good person, right? Taka is a good person. But if, like, people die a lot in Spurb, okay? If he saw somebody die and thought that was the end of the world and stopped playing the game, that could be pretty bad. Especially if they, like, when they eventually got revived by one of the game mechanics and came back. I don't know if he'd be able to, like, handle, like, what would happen? What would have happened in Danganronpa 1? Which, by the way, spoilers for Homestuck and Danganronpa as a whole series, including these 2 fan games I'm going to talk about later, but that should be kind of implied. What would have happened if Mondo came back after he'd gone all Kyondo mode? Like, would he have just reverted? I don't think so. I think he would have been even further shocked. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know. Kyoko's definitely god tier. Kyoko's like Rose, but more active. So, like, what more can you ask for? Leon. I think Leon is there. Because the threat of being murdered is what drove him to do stupid stuff in the first game. But there's no, like, rules for escape from Spurb. So if he was in it, his only goal would be to survive it and get to the end of it. Rather than killing somebody else to try to do that. You know what I mean? So I don't think he'd actively sabotage the game. I think he'd just be, like, kind of annoying and not super helpful. You know? I don't know. Fun game to play along with me. I meant to say this at the beginning too, but I don't know aspects that well. But if you want to, keep a list in the comments of what you think everybody's aspect would be. I have no idea. I don't know classes either. I know some people from the Homestuck videos do like that. I think it'd be funny to read what you think. Makoto feels like he's probably good teammate tier. I know he's the protagonist and he gets, like, protagonist powers at the end of Danganronpa 1. But, like, he feels like a pretty middling team member. But not in a way where it's, like, he's not doing enough or, like, he's not cooperating. Which would be part of Leon's problem, probably. He just feels like kind of, he'd be like John Egbert, you know? And John Egbert is kind of a hard carry at certain points, but, like, specifically the John before he goes god tier, when he's just kind of fooling around in Salamander Land for the whole game. That would be his deal, pretty much. Mondo. This one's a little tough. I think probably here, obviously the anger issues could be a problem, but he's strong and he's not stupid. So I feel like he'd be a better teammate than Leon would be, because Leon is kind of stupid. Let's just be fair. So yeah, obviously Monokuma would sabotage, but Monokuma, I don't even know if he could get into the game as a robot. So I don't know. Mukuro, probably in here. It's kind of sad, but true. Sakura, I think Sakura is probably a hard carry, right? Not only a good fighter, she has a little bit of, like, easily manipulated type stuff, but not too bad, and she does care for other people, so having her as a teammate would be very nice, and she's competent, which is helpful. I don't think she'd be a god tier on the same level as, like, these three, where, like, they would be able to, like, unravel the whole game structure and help their team that way. Sakura would be, like, the heavy damage dealer, you know what I mean? The one that, after the others figure it out, actually executes on the plan. Sayaka, I think, has to go into is there, I think, probably. Because same Taka instabilities, but she's less likely to actually work together with the whole team, I think. I know she's used to working with her team, but she was instantly willing to sell out Makoto in Danganronpa, so I can't imagine she's especially, like, nice? You know what I mean? I feel like there's sort of a fandom effect where Sayaka has been kind of smoothened into being... Well, not smoothened per se. It's like she's been split apart into two pieces, where half of the people see her as like this delicate flower that only meant well, but was put in a bad situation. Or she's an evil manipulator that is like a terrible person. When really it's like in the middle, right? So I feel like in the middle kind of suits her. I'm going to rank Toko and Genocider at the same time, because they are the same person, technically, same body, you know what I mean? It's like a Gamzee situation, almost to a T. That is dangerous. It's quite dangerous, really. And Toko isn't especially helpful, so I think I have to put her in here. Sorry, Toko. Yasuhiro is definitely in a hard has to be carried category. Honestly, I feel like Akane might be in here too, which feels kind of sacrilegious because she usually gets fairly high on these lists just for her athletic ability and general, like, cooperativeness. But I feel like her lack of foresight and charging into things blindly being her, like, main character trait kind of removes her from high contention for something like this. Think about how many doomed timelines would happen because Akane charged into a fight before she was prepared. A lot of them. Chiaki's tough. This is kind of the same question as Monokuma, right? Where, like, could a robot even go into Spurb? But assuming that she can, and she acts the same way she does in, like, the Neo world, I feel like she's probably here. She's kind of... Okay, in terms of comparing her to a Homestuck character and how I think she'd operate, she's kind of like Pfeffery to me, you know? Where she's nice, and everybody kind of likes her, but... capable in certain situations? I'm not sure. If we took the anime version of her, she's basically God, so she could do anything she wanted. But I think this is the place I'd put her when it comes to just what we see in the games. Especially without her, like, omniscience, given what's happening in Danganronpa 2. Not Straw 2. Different game. Fuyuhiko's character arc only occurs because Peko dies for him. And if that isn't... well, that could be something that happens. That probably would be a thing that happened if they were both in the game. I'm going to put him in is there for now. It's kind of a split the difference choice between good teammate and has to be carried. Because it depends on what happens, you know? If he's willing, if, like, Peko's there and he's willing to cooperate and be a good teammate, then yeah, he'd be a good teammate. If she's not, and he's just a little asshole the whole time, not gonna happen, you know? Gundam? What would happen if Gundam got access to real magic? Yeesh. I think Gundam would all around be a good teammate. Yeah. Most of his, like, instabilities when it comes to being a teammate in this case are just, like, delusions of grandeur. But, like, that's fine if you're working towards the correct goal. You know what I mean? When it comes to Spurb, as long as you're, like, getting to the end point and doing all the events properly, doesn't really matter if you're kind of annoying about it. So I think it'd be fine. I don't think he'd actively sabotage if he had nothing to gain from it, right? So that feels good. Hajime... This is also kind of a question. Because if it's amnesia Hajime, who doesn't remember he has no talent, and he's like, I could be anything, I think he's a good teammate. But if it's crippling self-doubt Hajime, then I think he has to be carried. That's a good question. Although, actually, in either case, he's going to get a special power during the course of this game. So, I think he goes in here. That makes sense. I mean, even if she wasn't in... I think maybe has to be carried is a better place, because I don't think she'd actively sabotage if she knew the stakes. But her actions would sabotage the group, so I feel like she's in. It has to be carried at best. Ibuki, I want to put Ibuki in good teammate, but I feel like she might be is there territory. It depends basically on if you're considering FTE Ibuki, which is very cool and awesome, or regular game Ibuki, where she's kind of in her own world and doesn't help at all. You know what I mean? So I think she has to go in the middle. Chugami, the imposter. I think he's probably a good teammate. I could maybe see him in hard carry or god tier. But I feel like he's a little bit too self-absorbed in whatever role he's playing, which could lead to bad situations. Even when he's copying Byakuya, though, he's a pretty, good leader, despite the fact Byakuya is really not. So, it's probably going to turn out pretty well, but I don't think he's, going to actually lead the group to victory. He would, keep them in line, but that's kind of the same role that Taka fills in a very similar capacity, so that feels about right. Izuru obviously has all the talents. If he was in charge, the game would be over in 3 seconds. It's not even fair, so there you go. Kazuichi. Are there girls in the game? Historically, actually, there has to be, right? That's kind of how Spurb works. So, I think into has to be carried, he goes. His skills could be very helpful if he would apply them, which I doubt he would. He'd be too obsessed about the fact that he's in a game and there's a girl who he's destined to get together with, even though that's not really how it works. He'd be like, oh, finally! And yeah. Whereas this person, this one, would be the complete opposite of that. He'd be like, are you kidding me? This feels about right. Kind of the same role as Tugami and Taka. Pretty much for Mahiru. She's not a master planner or anything, so this feels about right. Mikon, I know which aspect she'd have. Life. It feels bad, but in Spurb, there's healing items that just heal you. You can just make them out of fruit gushers. So her talent isn't really that useful, and she doesn't really have much else going for her. So sorry, Mikon. Nagito is a god of luck. He's already god tier, basically. Nekomaru, I feel like he gets to go up here too, despite the poop jokes. Obviously, he's a capable fighter, and he's got a decent head on his shoulders. He cares about his team. These are all good traits. Peko. I think Pekko's probably in good teammate tier. If Fujihiko's involved, things could get a little sketchy, but even then, she'd be fighting to protect him, which would get you through the game. So it feels like it's a win-win, sort of. I'm going to take Monokuma off. I never like ranking the Kumas, because it feels like ranking a non-character, basically. Sonya, I think Sonya would get really into, probably Prospect. She'd probably be a Prospect dreamer. She would get really into that. Sort of like a new place with these new subjects to command. I don't know if that would be super helpful, though. She's not really that good of a fighter. Or planner. I think she has to go in here. Yeah, I think she could get very easily distracted. And she's not particularly good at any of the things Spurb needs from you. So, I don't know. You could make an argument that, like, well, she's the ultimate princess. She knows how to lead people. But does she? She never displays that. So, I can't really say one way or the other. Teru is probably in here. Well, he's the same as Kazuichi in the fact that he'd be concerned with only repopulating the species and nothing else. So that's not very helpful, in other words. Like I said, I'm skipping these anime people. We'll do the... Why can I not remember? What is it? Ultra Despair Girls. UDG. Characters very quickly here. Because, I mean, they're actually children, which is how old you're supposed to be doing this. Other than Haiji, who I think has to go in here. He'd be like, are you kidding me? I'm not going to go fight monsters. I'm just going to hide in my house. And then everything would be ruined. Oh, God. The kids have so few traits. What am I going to do about this? Okay. Kamaru is like Makoto, but a little bit goofier, so I don't think much would change. Whoa, that was a weird transition, too, in the music. Weird. Jotaro. Probably has to be carried. Probably has to be carried. These are small children. I think Nagisa is probably fine. I think she actively sabotages, and she's probably fine, too. Probably. These two seem competent enough. These two seem like they desperately need somebody to give them directions at all times, which would not be very useful, unfortunately, for them. So it's what I gotta do. V3. We're like halfway out of here. Angie has to be carried, definitely. I mean, she could get a group together, but she'd start some sort of weird cult-like ritual around their god tiers or something, and it would not be good. Gonta. I think Gonta's a good teammate. You do have to kind of monitor him, like, in the same way as somebody like Masaru, probably. But he's good to have around. He's like, kind of like Equius, but somehow even less tactically minded. Actually, Kazuichi and Teru are kind of like Equius, too. Except, actually, Kazuichi's a lot like Equius, huh? It's too bad he doesn't have somebody to keep him on track, like Equius does. Anyway. Himiko, I don't want to do anything, so that's not helpful. Kaede, probably a good teammate. I wouldn't put her in hard carry. I think Kaido is a hard carry, though. It's weird, because he's not really a fighter, and he's not really a planner, but he's kind of like a John Egbert, almost, where, like, he is just stupid enough to be charming enough that... and he's capable enough that I think he could actually lead the group fairly well. You know what I mean? Maybe even better than somebody like Kyoko or Byakuya, just because he's way more charming. And I have a feeling he'd be able to use his power decently. Like, I think Kaido could probably manage, like, the time aspect or something. He'd probably be space, though, right? I think he could probably manage that. Because he's already kind of off in his own world. And if he was doing it to, like, help people, I think he'd be fine. Kibo, another robot. Hard to say. Probably a good teammate. Nothing really wrong with him. At least if we take that dang antenna off. But even if he was being controlled by committee, he'd probably be better than all the people underneath him. At least the ones in this tier. These guys, it's a little bit more questionable. So maybe I'll put him in is there. It feels kind of fair. He's kind of on the same level. Because he could be good or bad depending on the people controlling him, basically. Kirumi. Kirumi, Yeah. She could handle it. Definitely. Kokichi. Yeah, yeah. Even if you're on the side of the fan base that's like, well, Kokichi was just trying to help. I don't think in the case of Suburb, his methods would be very useful. Imagine the amount of doomed timelines from Kokichi trying to do something stupid. Too many. Also, Kokichi's whole thing is to just not participate, which is not a good idea in Spurb. Just sitting there and not participating is bad. You're kind of on a time limit, usually. Actually, you're definitely on a time limit, because it doesn't really come into effect in actual Homestuck that much. But the Reckoning is a thing that's going to happen, so you can't just sit and wait, which is also Celeste's problem, so it makes sense. Korekio would try to murder people. Doom timelines once again. Maki, she's a capable fighter, but she's antisocial. So I feel like she has to go in here. If you had somebody like Kaido to break her out of her shell and get her to work with the group, I think you'd be fine. But having her as like a separate entity almost, like she's going to have to be in charge of somebody else's like building to get through their gates, right? So like she has to cooperate. And I don't see that going well. Miyu. Yeah, it's true. She would be obsessed with alchemizing things and would never get anything actually done. Rantaro? Yeah, he's probably fine. He'd probably be a little bit distracted by the fact that his quest to save his sister is now over because definitively the world ended and she's definitely dead because she's not with him. But if he actually, that's pretty bad. He'd probably have to be carried after that. I'm going to be honest. It's pretty rough. A lot of these people, I don't think everyone would be leaving their family behind, but that's something I didn't really consider. Because, like, for Mahiru, her mother's like a war photographer who's never at home. She would be leaving that person behind, and they would die. Fuyuku's sister is already dead, so it doesn't matter. That's actually, I think, moved Sayaka down. Because her bandmates, like, her career is what drives her, right? So if that's gone, definitively, I think that hurts her a lot. I think that moves Mahiru down as well. Not quite as far, because I think she could get over it. Seems like she's already kind of distant with her parents already. But, yeah. Is there anybody else that'd be a big deal for? It would be a decent deal for Sakura, but I think she'd take it more in a direction of, like, I have to, like, see this through to avenge Kenshiro or whoever. And I guess Kyoko would never find her father. Byakuya would lose his company, but I think he'd see this as an absolute win. Like, he gets to become master of the universe, which is kind of a step up from CEO. So I don't think he'd care, because his family isn't necessarily good to him or anything. He just wants the family name for the power. Kyoko, that's an interesting one. But I think she'd also power through pretty easily, considering what she does in Danganronpa. Even if she doesn't, like, love it, I think she'd be able to power through. And that adds even more credence to somebody like Teruteru, or are Akane's siblings going to make it? Like, I don't know. That's something I have to keep in mind now. Oh, man. Ryoma probably has to be carried. He'd constantly be sacrificing himself, which would not help anybody, because it would just doom them all to a doomed timeline. Shuichi would be pretty good, but he's not exactly a fighter, so I'll put him in here. Tenko is a fighter, but obviously she's got some other issues which would hurt her in this game. That's definitely going to force her to cooperate with men, so I'll put her in is there. Seems fair. Samugi is evil. Yeah, that's about that. Okay. Akane Taira. Also evil, but I think it only makes sense because I'm kind of taking these guys from the start of their respective games. to do that with Akane as well, which means she's lost her memories. So I think she'd be probably a good teammate. It's only really fair. Ayame Hatano. This is going to be a test to see if I remember all these characters' names. Ayame, especially in this scenario, does feel like a pretty good teammate. She might even be god tier, honestly. Because she's not, like, super smart, but she's way more competent than somebody like Aoi, let's say. So, that feels about right, I think, yeah. What's this guy's name? I know, he's like one of the most important characters. Oh man, it's been too long. It starts with H, I know that for sure. Mitsuhiro Higa. No, that's the other guy. That's the other misogynist. This guy has to be carried, yeah. What's his name? I've got Hatano stuck in my head now. Whatever, I'll come back to him when I remember his name. Wow, this is bad. Your name is Keiji, right? Utsuji or something? I feel like he's probably a good teammate. I think his name is Keiji. That sounds correct. Kyoka Maki. Her name's easy to remember because it's Maki. And there's, I know 2 other Makis, so it's quite helpful. Here's one of them. And the other one you can see in Tomodachi Life videos. I think she's probably pretty competent. Kanada Inori. I remembered her name. She's also a doctor character. So her skills aren't all that useful. But I think she still goes in here. Because she's not the best at fighting. But she is a willing, like, cooperator. So that helps. That's very helpful. You have to be carried. I know your name is Kyoka. No, this is Kyoka. This is Kizuna. I have a whole emote with her in it, and I almost forgot. Rei. Rei is Byakuya too, so she kind of just sits up here with him. Haruhiko. See, I told you I'd remember it. Haruhiko. He's more competent than Kazuichi. He's like a competent Kazuichi. So I think I put him here, probably. He would also freak out about, like, destined to repopulate humanity thing. Which would probably not be good, but I think he could, like, work through it fairly well, you know? Whereas Kazuichi would not. I know these characters' names. This one's Teruya. I love Teruya. He'd be bad in this, though. I guess we're going to rank older Teruya later, so that'll go a little higher, but, you know. Tsurugi. He's like halfway between hard carry and actively sabotages. So I could put him in here, but I think probably closer to a Byakuya type of hard carry, where he just, like, walks everybody down, forces them to do what he wants, and they will get through it even if they hate him, you know? Utsuro is literally a god, so I'll put him up here beside Izuru. This guy's name is not coming back to me. Nope. Surely I remember the clown. Her name is... It's Haruhiko and Satsuki. Oh, wow, that actually worked. Okay, Satsuki the clown, Satsuki Uranami. She's probably decent, too. I mean, she's goofy, but she, as shown, it was actually shown in the game, the actual gameplay, that she can be serious when, you know, she has to be. So, you know what? Nice. That's all I ask. Yuki is like a Makoto, too, basically. Yamato. Yeah. Kisaragi. I know his name. He's probably a hard carry. I'm taking them at the start of the game, right? So, like, if I'm going to include Akane's amnesia, I should probably include his amnesia too, right? I still think he'd be good, but maybe is there makes more sense. Because he'd be off doing the right things on his own he'd just be hard to cooperate with in the state that he's in the game. I don't remember your names. Makako. I was like, I do know this girl's name because she used to be my favorite character before I played the game, and she was really boring. We still love Makako, but she was quite boring. With her problem, I think she's higher than Kisaragi, but like not by that much, you know what I mean? I'm not ranking in between tiers, obviously, by the way. Like, in a single tier. Like, Leon isn't the best of his there. But, she's definitely close to the bottom of good teammate, because her brain could just explode at any moment if she thinks too hard about things. That's a pretty big liability. But overall, she's, like, nice, you know? Why can't I remember? Kakeru. Thank you. Kakeru Yamaguchi. Thank you, Brain. He's probably a good teammate, too. He wants to protect people. He's smart enough. He's shy around women, but he can get over that, whatever. It's not like he hates women or something, or has a weird relationship with women. Or has a weird relationship with men. Anyway. Emma. Okay. I think in this case, where you can die and be resurrected, the void stuff doesn't matter, pretty much, right? Like, even if they die, they can come back as a god tier. So I think that's kind of off the table. Let's just get rid of Mikado right away. So I think Emma is actually probably fine. And she's pretty competent, as we saw from the case where she murdered somebody very, not extravagantly, what's the word? For being extremely complicated. You know what I mean. It is very complicated. I think she's fairly competent. She's got that underlying instability from being, you know, abused. But it's not... She's able to handle it a little bit better than some other people. Like, she's clearly come to terms with it in a different way. Whereas, like, I think it does affect Nikkei and Iroha a little bit more than other people. Let's just go with Hajime first, though. I think Hajime, devoid of like having to worry about falling back into crippling illness, is actually a pretty good teammate. He's not especially smart, so I can't really put him higher than this, but I think he is a good teammate. Let's rank the twins. They're a package deal, kind of. You'd get both of them. What would happen if... I guess they'd have to have separate sessions, right? To actually... Like, they'd have to both be playing different versions of the game at the same time. But that's not really how it works. So, I don't know. Let's just assume Spurb counts them as one person. Or, like, a linked person. So they both have to die on their... what is it called? What bed? Whatever, their god tier bed. In order to become god tiered. I think it has to be here, though. For both of them, right? Because Kanade is actively trying to kill people. And Hibiki is constantly being very uncooperative. So it's like bad on both fronts. No matter who you're dealing with. Yeah, yikes. In this case, two heads, not better than one. Nope. I think Iroha is down here for sure. I don't know whether to put Nikkei in actively sabotages or not. Because he obviously betrayed everybody, and he's really only in anything for himself. But, like, that can still work. You know what I mean? Who else was in it for themselves? There was somebody else I said earlier who was in it for themselves. Like, Gundam's kind of in it for himself. And there was somebody else. Who was it? Oh, Byakuya is in it for himself. But, like, they're competent enough that they know that just murdering everybody isn't going to help. Like, they have to use people. Well, in the case of Byakuya, Gundam's more just like... He's going to play the game because he wants to become more powerful, right? Like, even if he's not going to talk to people, it's still fine because he's going to play the game. He's not going to just quit at some point and get distracted doing something else. I feel like Nikkei's the same case, right? Nikkei's going to want the power for himself, and he's probably going to want to kill everybody else in order to keep the new universe for himself too, really. But, like, he has to keep everybody alive to get there, and probably by the time they've got there, they're kind of invincible anyway, with the god tier status. So his death would become just, and then it'd be fine if they managed to kill him, you know? So I think that's probably fair. Kokoro, another selfish one, but one I could see maybe helping. Although I do feel like she'd experiment on the chess people, or she'd, like, keep cloning things to try to, like, experiment on the first emotion or whatever. Like, she'd get stuck with the paradox cloning technology. Like Mew would get stuck with the alchemeter technology, you know? So that could be bad. Actually, I'll probably put her here for that. Same as Mew. Only makes sense. Oh, right. I forgot about leaving your family behind. I don't think most of these people care. Kinji does kind of care. He does pretty much break down when all those orphans are dead. I'll put him here for that. I mean, Makako, it depends on if Yamato is here or not. Because she wouldn't even remember, right? If there was no hint of who Yamato was, she wouldn't even remember. So I think it'd be fine. Satsuki has a lot of siblings, but I think they probably come with the house when she played the game, assuming that's how this is going to work. Same with Kyoka. Yeah, I think everybody else is fine. I gotta remember that, though. Jeez, it's very important. Setsuka. I mean, she's quite competent, but not competent enough to not get caught and blackmailed and murdered. So I'll put her in here. I mean, Sora's just a Kane, but with heavenly luck, right? Well, not at the start of the game, right? She doesn't have heavenly luck. Also, I don't know if I should even count heavenly luck, because would that even work if they weren't on Earth anymore? I didn't really think about that. But, like, their source of heavenly luck, it depends on how you think of it. Because I always sort of interpret it as the reason they still had heavenly luck is because Utsuro is technically still there, but it's just his body, right? So he's, like, slowly decaying, and then eventually the heavenly luck will be gone for good when he's, like, eroded away in the ocean or something. So if Utsuro was there, they'd have heavenly luck. But if Utsuro wasn't there, they wouldn't. So I can't really rank them as if they do. In that case, I think Sora lands here, because she is quite capable. And honestly, the thing with wanting to save Yuki isn't even that bad of a deal if it's still in her programming when it comes to Spurb. So I think she's fine. She's not like a leader or anything, so I feel like God tier would be a stretch, but yeah. Why can't I remember his name? Oh no, people are going to be so mad at me. I think his name is Kinji, right? The reason I couldn't remember it is because it sounds so close to Keiji. It's Kinji. This is tough. I mean, it's not tough because I think he'd be bad. It's tough because I kind of want to put him in God tier. But I think he has to stay down here with Setsuka. They're kind of the same character, but, like, mirrored in an interesting way. I think maybe they both go up here then. Because they're both leaders, they're both cooperative, they're both capable fighters. Yeah, okay, sure. Convinced myself. Good for me. I mean, I think Shobai's in here because he has to be carried because he just spent all his time at the crocodile slots cheesing money out of them. I feel like that'd be it. If he is stupid enough to care about the fake money that Mikado is feeding him, he is stupid enough to care about boom dollars, okay? more than saving his own damn life. Yuki made a 2. He is just a brain in a jar, basically, but again, we're taking him as he is, a guy, when it comes to the start of Straw 2. He's basically like a slightly more assertive version of this Yukimeda, which doesn't really help him a whole lot, so we'll just put him in here. Let's do Yuki first. Before I have to think about Yuruko and maybe not placing her very high. I mean, Yuki is down here. Yuri, rather, is down here with the other perverts. It's just how it works. Yuruko. She is very teammate focused, but she's not a good fighter. And she kind of is prone to giving up. I like Yuruko, but I think she's probably in here. Plus, she'd be dealing with the fact that this girl that's her best friend, they would describe them as best friends, is now gone. So that's no good. I think it's only fair. Oh, boy. Well, that's the list. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Did you write out a long comment that lists everybody's attribute? That would be insane. Let me know. Did I make any mistakes? I'm sure I made at least a couple. Where I just wasn't thinking about something that would be very useful when it comes to sperm. You never know. Maybe Himiko would actually not be lazy because there's real magic or something. That's fair, I guess, but I still think she'd be lazy. I don't know. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, give the video a like, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Okay, bye!